Well, let's get started now. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the CAFNR Research Council webinar series. Today is our second webinar of the spring semester, and we have two of our own colleagues, one from CAFNR and another from the College of Engineering, Doctors Damon and Baolin Deng as our speakers. Before I formally introduce our speakers, I would like to say a few words about the CAFNR Research Council, or CRC. We formalized CRC about 3 years ago as an advisory council that would provide advice to my office, that is the CAFNR Office of Research. We do have faculty from every division represented on the council. We also have staff, graduate student, and postdoc representation. This webinar is an example of some of the activities of the council, in addition to providing advice to my office. They also organize the annual CAFNR Research Day, help make important decisions regarding several research-related awards in CAFNR, and funding opportunities from my office, like the Joy of Discovery Seed Grant Program and the recently announced matching assistantship program for new PhD students. When they help make important decisions in the Office of Research, they are representing you, our faculty and staff. In other words, CRC plays an important role in shared governance in our college. So with that, let me briefly introduce our speakers. Dr. Baolin Deng is the William Andrew Davidson Professor in the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering and a joint faculty in Biomedical, Biological, and Chemical Engineering at the University of Missouri. He is also the director of the Missouri Water Resources Research Center in Engineering. His research includes advanced technology development for the removal of arsenic and other toxic metals from drinking water and development of nanocomposite membrane for water treatment and wastewater reuse, among other topics. Dr. Damon is an assistant professor in the School of Natural Resources in CAFNR, with a joint appointment also in the College of Engineering. He serves as the director of the CAFNR Center for Watershed Management and Water Quality. His research examines interactions between social and ecological systems where science, policy, and culture meet. He is currently working on long-term water resources planning, engaging citizens in stream data collection for hydrologic modeling, and citizen-engaged policy approaches to address declines in native bee diversity and abundance. Well, several of you have attended previous webinars related to the topic of today's webinar, the Missouri Water Center. As you are aware, we've been working on a plan to merge the two different water centers, one in engineering, headed by Dr. Deng, and the other one in CAFNR, headed by Dr. Hall, for the past nearly 2 years. Since we have given updates periodically, I'm not going to get into the history or the steps taken so far. But the good news is that we are about to announce the new center, the Missouri Water Center. Drs. Deng and Hall will serve as faculty directors, and Dr. Dan Cassidy will serve as executive director for external partnerships. We have also hired Brian Klippenstein and Tom Waters as consultants. And also, they all have put together an external advisory board. Well, I don't want to steal their thunder. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Baolin and Damon.
Thank you, Shibu, for the introduction. Thank you for this great opportunity for us to provide an update on our Missouri Water Center. I will start first, then Damon will take over. I will use this timeline as an outline for this update. I want to illustrate that even so, we are forming this new center, but actually that is not something new. The University of Missouri has a long history of water research. Some orchestrated effort started well over half a century ago. I will briefly describe two centers on campus and our motivation to merge these two to establish this Missouri Water Center. I consider this is a new phase of this water research on the University of Missouri campus. In the College of Engineering, we have the Missouri Water Resources Research Center. The center was established in 1964 at the University of Missouri system in response to the passing of the National Water Resources Act in 1964. That was amended in 1984. This act created a national network of 54 research centers, one in each of the 50 states, plus 4 territories, including Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and Guam. The goal for this act, for this network, is to have a coordinated effort to solve state, regional, and national water problems. Here there is a website link about this program. This network, even after over 50 years, still exists today with moderate annual support from the United States Geological Survey. It manages the 104B program, 104G program. Damon will elaborate on that later. The program has strong congressional support, both from the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. It has been reauthorized last year, so the program is expected to continue in the foreseeable future. The state institute, just like in the Midwestern region, are associated with those non-grant institutions. In this area, we include this University of Iowa State, UIUC, Kansas State, University of Arkansas, Oklahoma State. So those are the universities with this state water center. In Kafler, we have this Center for Watershed Management and Water Quality. This center was established in 1992. The mission of the Kafler Water Center is to develop sustainable solutions to contemporary water management issues, to address water quality and water quantity problems. It is part of this effort to meet this land-grant mission of the University of Missouri through research, education, and outreach and community engagement activities. Recognizing this complementary expertise of these two centers, one housed in engineering, one housed in Kafler, there has been discussion for many, many years to create an inclusive water center on campus. There's a synergy that could be brought out in uniting these two centers. This discussion has been accelerated and intensified by the end of 2020. Early last year, two colleges formed a task force, including 4 members, Laura Aloysius, Jinu Tan, Damon Ho, and myself, to explore a feasibility to see whether we could form this united Missouri Water Center. The task force had weekly meetings for several months and conducted a faculty survey last May, and many small group discussions. The survey and this discussion convinced us that to form a Missouri Water Center has overwhelming support from the faculty. Faculty suggest the key words listed here that has demonstrated that we do have strong expertise in water focused on flood, drought, water quality, water modeling, and many other areas. The task force also explored what functions for such a center could have. 4 functions are considered essential. The first one is to serve as the authority for Missouri Water Research League. We want to work with state agencies, Department of Natural Resources and Department of Agriculture, and to develop a state network so the most essential water issues could be identified and addressed. The second function is to coordinate large water-related research proposals and grants. The third focus is to share expertise, resources with stakeholders among the MU faculty, MU extension specialists, and public agencies. The fourth focus is to develop new collaborations with other institutes of higher education in the Midwest region and across the nation. The task force proposed 4 potential actions as listed here. I'm not going to go through one by one. Eventually, the College of Engineering Leadership have selected the option C as the action to move forward. Under this recommendation, basically with some support, we establish a unified Missouri Water Research Center there. And within 3 to 5 years, we really try to eventually develop the center to be a big C center recognized by campus. Now here we are working vividly ever since towards building a successful water center, the Missouri Water Center. We have developed a mission statement. Here it is. The Missouri Water Center will serve the state of Missouri and the nation through innovative research on managing water resources and water quality, training students for water-related professions, and creating and transferring knowledge that enhances safety and economical, environmental, and social status of its citizens. As I mentioned earlier, each state has a water center. Our goal is really to build the Missouri Water Center as one of the top 10 in the nation within 5 years of time frame. With that, I will pass this platform to Damon.
Great, thank you, Baolin. The flooding of 2019 changed how lawmakers were thinking about the importance of water resources information and infrastructure in Missouri. The governor's flood advisory working group led to new research commitments on the Missouri River, and funding opportunities started to emerge around state and federal priorities. Many Missourians were affected in some way, and this has really, as we've seen, led to a groundswell of public support around water resources and the need for improving management, as well as the information that drives management of water quality, quantity, drought, etc. So for us, we see this as great timing for a center merger around water. So what have we been up to since the task force? Following the task force report of May 2021, Baolin and I continue to meet every week to keep talking about the vision for this center and what we wanted. And one of the first things that Baolin and I wanted to do was to write a federal white paper for fiscal year 23. And we saw this as a way, of course, of potentially securing funding, but really having a product that we could set out our first sets of research priorities and organize what we had been hearing from our conversations with federal agencies as well as state agencies. That summer, Shabu and Giovanna connected us to Missouri alumni who were highly networked in water resources and water issues in the state and have experience in securing state and federal funding. As Shabu mentioned, Dr. Dan Cassidy, former staff member for Senator Kip Bond, former director of FAPRI, the Food and Agricultural Policy Institute, and Dan is serving as the executive director of external partnerships. And then as well, Tom Waters, who's the chairman of the Missouri Levee and Drainage District Association, as well as commissioner and past chairman of Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission. And then Brian Klippenstein, former chief of staff of Senator Kip Bond, staff for Senator Roy Blunt, Congressman Coleman, and then former senior advisor to the Secretary of Agriculture. So the five of us began meeting in the fall regularly to stand up this center. The first thing that we did in November was we submitted a federal priority white paper to help launch the center activities and build capacity. Again, these are based on our conversations with state and federal partners. We identified 5 broad project areas that we could match stakeholder needs and public policymakers' interests with university research capabilities. We put together an ask for the maximum funding we thought we could get, which is $14 million. Of course, we don't know if we're going to get 14 or 7 or 1 or 0, but of course, any amount of federal support would be a big boost to launching this center. These priority areas are just places to start. We see these as just really a first step. These are first, state legislators, and MDNR, as well as regional university partners, really want us to develop a water information resource center utilizing a system of integrated sensors at stream crossings, so bridges, utility corridors, to build large-scale hydrologic models capable of predicting early flood as well as drought warning data. These would be coupled with climate models for predictive forecasts useful to public officials and to citizens. This aligns with the governor's proposed Missouri Hydrology Information Center that was just announced. There's a request for in the governor's budget announced last month. Secondly, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, MDNR, and stakeholders have said that they need a better cost-benefit analysis tool for system-wide and site-specific project decision-making along the lower Missouri River. The way all of U.S. Army Corps of Engineers projects are funded are based on priority calculations off of cost-benefit analysis. And so our partners are interested in learning how those can be expanded to capture the full extent of impacts. So for example, in 2019, Interstate 29 was not used for about 2 months up in the northwest corner of the state. What are the impacts to that convenience store that was on the Interstate 29 corridor for those 2 months? Some of those impacts don't get accounted for in those models. Third, there is local and state interest, as well as federal USDA interest in implementing and operating a smart monitoring system for reservoirs, especially those that have water supply. We think that that could be piloted within the East Locust Creek watershed in support of long-term community economic development as well as sustainability. Fourth, there's a lot of tension between repetitive loss communities and government agencies. And so Missourians, FEMA, Army Corps of Engineers, and MDNR want to enhance the communication and strengthen those relationships among landowners, stakeholders, and officials for drought and flood resiliency planning. And then finally, the world needs better trained water expertise. And we think the federal funds could help us scale up and coordinate the efforts of training students for the workforce, selected office, academia, by undergraduate, graduate, postdoc research on water-related issues. And this would be in support of and advancing work that's already done within water resource degree program in CAFNR, as well as programs in College of Engineering. We have a long way to go, but we think this sets out a nice broad first step to build capacity for a water center. In addition to this white paper, we've also set up an advisory committee. This is a mix of state agency representation. So you'll see from these members, we have current directors of Missouri Department of Natural Resources and Department of Agriculture. These are standing seats for those directors that we'll have. We also have federal research agencies in the U.S. Geological Survey, National Weather Service, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, including we have the former Assistant Secretary of the Army for Civil Works and former Mississippi River Commissioner. Those are presidentially appointed. Both of those positions are in R.D. James, and he's really excited to be working on this. We also have industry representation in terms of farmers, lawyers, engineers. We have nonprofit in the Nature Conservancy, and then even an academic in Jim Thompson, former Dean of the College of Engineering. What we will continue to do as a USGS supported Water Resources Research Center is administer the 104B grants program that Baolin mentioned, which we've been doing for 50 years now. And this is a program that allocates USGS money distributed to the state. It's competitively decided by state level USGS centers. The objectives are to establish active research programs to solve pressing water resources problems, to provide education opportunities in research for students with an interest in water, and then to actively disseminate through a variety of platforms. And the key water issues are organized around these three areas of quality, quantity, and policy. In addition to the state level program, there is also a national program in the 104G that's supported by the Missouri Water Center and as a USGS funded Water Resources Research Center. And this is competitive at a national level. And these are about $250,000 for 2 years. So the USGS, in cooperation with state, administers these. The objective is to address pressing regional and national issues that are high profile. So for the 2022 and 2023, the two topics are aquatic invasive species in the upper Mississippi Basin, and then water quality associated with new contaminants of PFAS. Proposals have to be submitted through the Missouri Water Center. The call for proposals is coming out next month, and the submission date is May. As Shabu mentioned, we are officially launching the Missouri Water Center on Tuesday, March 1. It'll be by press release. This is embargoed, so I hope it's okay to show the first paragraph. We also have a complimentary splash page. We don't have a website yet, but that is also what we're working on. We've been working with MayCreate, which is a local Columbia design company, to design the website. This is 2-hour meetings with designers on web design and colors. That should be coming in May of 22, this May. And related to other activities, as a part of NOL's USDA ARS fiscal year 22 federal white paper, He's hosting a conference, which will be in late September sometime for the lower Missouri River Basin. So more information will come on that soon. My last slide for you is what you're interested in if you're faculty, and that's what's in it for faculty. What are we asking of you? So in the short term, if we're funded, we will have to conduct a lot of research to meet these federal priorities. And it'll be a short timeline at the beginning, within 24 months. So we need faculty to help us do, if awarded, to do good research that benefits Missourians, the center, and then your research. And in return, we have graduate and postdoctoral student support, summer salary for your time, equipment funds, and supplies. Now, unlike other grant proposals, there's no formal budget or declarations of shared credit until after notification of award. So watch your inbox. In the midterm, we want you to help the Water Center connect with federal, state, and stakeholder priorities. You have your hand on the pulse of what's happening, and keeping us connected to that helps us. We also want you to join us in pursuing large coordinated research opportunities. We do have a mailing list we will use more frequently as we get the center stood up. But I guess in the long term, we see this as a unique time to get us all going in the same direction. And so we want you to help us in defining the long-term future of the center. So for now, stay tuned, and I will pass this back to Shabu.
Well, thank you, Damon and Baolin. So I will try to facilitate the Q&A session now. I hope we get some questions. I don't see any questions at the moment. So I'm going to request all of you to post your questions in the Q&A box, not in the chat room. So I'm monitoring the Q&A box. I don't see any questions, but let me ask you a question. I'm going to play the devil's advocate here. So when I look at nationally or regionally, and as you said, Baolin, we have so many water centers. There is apparently a water center in every state. So, and you stated the goal that we want to be like the top 10 in a few years. What gives you the confidence that that we are going to be top 10, and what makes you think that we are going to be kind of unique, different from the rest of them? What advantages do you see for us to come together and create this unified water center?
Good question. First, probably I could briefly mention that what does this top 10 mean? And this USGS program, every 3 years, I think now we're pushing that to every 5 years, there will be an evaluation by the USGS to see how good each state center is doing there. For the last many years, there are many such review. Missouri is always in the middle pack. I mean, it's not the worst, not the best, it's right in the middle there. That is because for the really good centers, they have much more activities. For example, that is in Arizona, Colorado, California. For us, 2/3 of these centers are in this middle pack. Then in the last round of review 2 years ago, you do have like 2 centers, 3 centers that will be under sort of kind of probationary evaluation. I mean, they're not doing the work good enough. So that is something that I think they will have some pressure there. For us, overall, I get some comment from the program manager at that time, at least his comment saying that we're doing a good job. I mean, they actually praised our program. Probably we are not at the top 10, but we're really not at the bottom in the middle pack. So that is sort of the floor. I think I get some sort of thinking that we're not really at the bottom. So that is good to know. And then now, if we have this Kafler and all the campers come together, we will have this complementary expertise, and the expertise will be much broader, much stronger. That will help. Now, also we have Dan Cassidy and his group, and also the leadership team from both colleges there that are very supportive for this effort. Hopefully that will translate into the campus level. We'll get the campus support for that. I think with some additional resources, with all the people coming together, I'm really optimistic that we can make it. We should be able to.
Yeah, can I add 2 points to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
That is, I guess Baolin saying we're number 25, so we've got 15, 16 places up there. What I've heard from the other center directors and institute directors that I've had a chance to speak with earlier this month, we were at a conference, is that many are kind of a 1 or 2 faculty member show, or maybe 1 faculty member and a staff member. And so when they hear that we have support and enthusiasm from the administration, they become a little jealous from what we have seen. And so that's a big piece of it, is having that administrative level support and enthusiasm. And then secondly, if it's a 1 faculty member show, the reward systems are built around kind of that individual faculty member's research program. And so what we're trying to do is connect with stakeholder needs, both at the state and federal levels. And we have, I think, 4 U.S. Army Corps districts that kind of touch Missouri. And so we have partnerships with state and federal agencies, as well as industry and other stakeholders who are on the ground. And so I think that is really what positions us well to grow in a different way than some of the 1 or 2 faculty member shops.
Great. Well, as you all know, I'm so excited about this, and I shared my excitement with President Choi last week, and he was, of course, excited. And so as we can see, the college leadership, campus leadership, I think we are all excited about this unified water center and the potential for it to be not just one among the top 10, but the best in the country. Well, I'm seeing a couple of questions here. So let me ask the first one here from Dr. Market. He's asking about flood and drought are both linked tightly to weather and climate. Are there efforts planned to capitalize on the more than 500 billion that we keep hearing in federal funding for climate-related research expected during the next 3 to 4 years? So there are lots of opportunities out there, as you all have seen. So what are some of the efforts that you are planning?
I would say with our conversations with federal partners, we know kind of from some of the infrastructure bills and other things where additional sources are that we can pursue. In terms of some of the competitively funded research, we have our eyes out and we're looking actively for large scale opportunities, and we're working with the recently renamed Research and Innovation Center, the RII, OSPA. So we are working with them, and indeed, Pat Market will rely on you as well to help keep us connected in opportunities as they come up.
And as you know, Pat himself is leading a big effort, getting ready to submit a $20 million proposal related to all of that. So there is plenty of funding out there. Well, Allison Hartman is asking, what is the best way to get involved in research projects?
Yeah, I may just try to comment that if I don't know whether you are just starting your career or kind of as a young faculty, a lot. This 104B program is competitive, but it's competitive. I would say that it's more like among this junior faculty members there. You have this small proposal, like 7 pages, not very long. And then it's just reviewed among these applicants within that group. Of course, some senior faculty members also submitted successful 104B proposals. We'll try to have this like it's a small amount, like 22K a year for 2 years. So you will be able to support like a master's student to graduate. So that is one way. For the 104G program, I just want to add that Damon has done a good job explain that we have this invasive species program that has $1 million this year. And also this PFAS is another subject area. Actually, there is another, could be $1 or $2 million that would be based on faculty initiated topic. You just propose whatever idea that you think would be most competitive. For you to be successful, sometimes it would be very helpful to collaborate with the USGS program. Great thing is that in Columbia, we have this regional sort of national center, Columbia Environmental Research Center. There are a total of 100 research people there in town. So that is a great resources. I have been working with them, have some projects with them. So that is more like on this USGS program. For the those federal white papers, if that is successful, we will have a lot of opportunities. And also we're actively looking at coordinating large proposals and grant. When we say large, we define that as $1 million and above.
If the question is asked from student perspective, contacting faculty, doing work in areas of your interest.
Okay. Well, I don't see any other questions here. So, well, we will wrap up. Rhonda, can you put up? There you go. Yeah, so let me thank Baolin and Damon again for describing where we are with respect to the Missouri Water Center. As they said, we are launching officially the Water Center on March 1st. So you will see a news release, and I will also send out a CAFNR-wide email, and my counterpart, Giovanna, will do the same in engineering. So we'll also try to bring it to your attention if you miss the news release. So we'll make sure that you get a chance to see it. Well, so thank you again, Damon and Baolin. So we have another webinar on March 10th, Thursday at the same time, 3:30. And Drs. Christina Hamilton and Jeff Jacobson from NCRA, so the North Central Regional Association of the Experiment Stations, will talk to us about multi-state projects, what, why, and for whom. As you may know, being a member of a multi-state project team is a requirement for the recently announced CAFNR Matching Assistantship Program for PhD students. So the faculty member has to be part of a multi-state project. So please join us to learn more about these multi-state hatch projects. So, well, I also would like to thank all of you for joining us today. I know it's not been easy. The weather has been bad. But still, thank you for joining us virtually. So with that, well, thanks everyone. I will see you all next time. Bye now.